How about this? I tweeted about this. You didn't hear about it probably. Husband Jacob Couch nearly decapitated in front of a horrified wife during maniac's hatchet attack at Tucson bus stop, or Tucson bus stop. There he is. White guy with his white wife, two little girls, and she had a miscarriage a couple of months ago. And they're still recovering from the loss of that child. They were sitting at this bus stop, and an anti-white black guy with a hatchet decided to cut the head off of this white man. Didn't hear about it? White people don't care? You know, if we had a people, it wouldn't matter who owned the mainstream media, right? Wouldn't matter. Because every white person that came upon this story would promulgate it to every single person in their circle. And they in their circles of influence. And they in their circles of influence. And we would all be mourning that one of our fathers with his wife was nearly completely decapitated right in front of her as they sat on a bench waiting for a bus, still mourning the loss of their child with two other little girls at home. So I know there are anti-non-whites out there that are going to say, well, the Jews aren't telling anybody because the Jews don't care. So what? What can you do about that but complain? If we had a people, which is the formula we use here, that works for the creation of a people, we would be promulgating it across the West. Our brothers and sisters in Spain would hear about this horrific attack and injury on our people, and they would be outraged. Let me ask you this. What happens to MSNBC, NBC, Fox, CNN, on and on? What happens to them when this giant group of powerful, wealthy, intelligent, industrious, creative people across the West become outraged over one of our own being decapitated in front of his wife? And with that outrage, wonder why it's not being talked about on the media. Wonder what the anti-whites who run the media would have to do at that point. So, do you want to force them to talk about the victimization of our people? Or do you just want to bitch that they're not doing it? These losers in those circles, they even bitched that Jews were not coming to condemn anti-whiteism at the universities. Beyond the pale. Beyond the pale. Cowards, pusillanimity, scumbags. Why aren't they doing it for us? Wow. That's a child talking. So the wife, in a tearful interview, told the story about how his head almost came all the way off at the bus stop. And they have I shared that while Carmelo Anthony has raised now nearly $500,000 from, of course, his people, but also anti-whites of all races, this family had raised $18,000. Who's at fault? We have white people with scores of millions of dollars could come to the rescue, would never miss the money, would make the money in interest in a month, in a week, in 6 months, would make it an interest on their vast wealth. Nothing. If we had a people, I could show up for the Foundation for White Well-Being and speak with the mother, just as you're going to see some of these Alexander, what is he, Reverend Alexander, that's hanging out with Carmelo, Dominique, Minister Dominique Alexander. I could show up and she would be proud to stand by my side. But we don't have a people. She wouldn't want to talk to me. She wouldn't want to talk to a representative of an organizational entity that fights for the white race, that fights to end our victimization. Just like Jeff Metcalf wouldn't want to talk to me. But Anthony, Carmelo's father, he wanted to talk to Dominique Alexander. He wanted to talk to the other guy, Tony, whatever his name is. No, Tony's his last name. Pastor Tony, Corey Tony. He wanted to talk to him. You know, Dominique Alexander, that Anthony embraced and brought into the family. And there's a picture of Carmelo with Dominique Alexander, who is not legally representing her. He's brought in because he's a fighter for the black race, cares about the black race. You know, that guy was convicted and did time for beating a toddler, causing the brain to bleed and the retinal stems to bleed in his girlfriend's toddler. And they still have this guy over. This just happened too, like in 2000, maybe 14 or something like that. So it wasn't long ago. Wasn't super long ago. Wasn't like he was 15 years old when he did it. So are you seeing the parallels I'm laying out here for you? What do you think went through the mind of Leash, whatever his name was, that fought the police, fought the white police officers, beat the shit out of them? What do you think was going through his mind about the white race? What do you think was going through the mind of this anti-white black monster that used a hatchet to decapitate this handsome father beside his wife? That she'll live. You can't even fathom. You can't even fathom what that would be like. The love of your life, and their head just came off of their shoulders. What do you think was going through his head about the white race? The monster that hacked his head off. What do you think was going through the mind of Carmelo Anthony when he stabbed Austin Metcalf in the heart? Do you think he was doing it magnanimously? Do you think any of these guys were doing this magnanimously? Do you think they were saying to themselves, I'm going to overlook how evil the white race is in this anti-white narrative that I've learned? I'm going to overlook the raping of black women that I've learned about that just happened everywhere and every day. Forget the stats. Don't come tell me that statistically, according to the FBI stats, there are 0 rapes of black women by white men. So what? People don't give a shit about stats. They live in the fantasy of the anti-white narrative, which their subconscious minds do not know is not reality. They think it's reality. So black women are always being raped by white men. Do you think they were overlooking it when he decided to beat the living piss out of these white police officers? When this anti-white black monster decided to hack the head off of this white father and husband? Do you think it magnanimously, Anthony was just overlooking everything he had learned about the white race? Not only from school, not only from entertainment media, but also from the circles of his families. Friends, none of them were overlooking. None of them magnanimously committed these atrocities. All of it was driven by anti-whiteism. So on the other side, too, we already talked about it with the police officers. A man who can throw down like a beast should be handled as though he has a knife or has a gun. You don't roll around on the pavement with him and let him beat the shit out of you. Anti-whiteism, white erasure stopped those police officers from doing what's right. How many other lives did he risk? How many families with a carload of their kids did he drive by at 150 miles an hour that he could have killed because of anti-whiteism? How about this monster out walking the streets? How many times should he have been incarcerated for the rest of his life before this happened? How about Carmelo Anthony? How many times did the system go easy on him? Well, you're going to see in a minute. How about the anti-whiteism that caused Jacob Couch here to believe that he could be in an environment where he is a despised and hated near minority in this country, but a minority on planet Earth by far? How much anti-whiteism did this guy have to be inflicted with to think that not only should he be in that environment, but also his wife, mother of his children? What kind of poisoning took place in his head? What about Austin? What did he learn over the years from anti-whiteism? School, movies, TV shows, his father, maybe his mother too, who knows? Friends. What did he learn about the white race and the non-white races, and how he should comport himself, and how he should think about them as identical to us? No different. No difference in biospirits. To even think it is immoral and a wretched thing to do. And what kind of role then did that muddying of his thinking play in the decision to push Anthony, Carmelo out of their tent, out from underneath their tent? This is, this incident here with Couch, we could spend hours on, not going to. We got to keep rolling. But yet again, another white family destroyed by anti-whiteism.